Welcome back everyone to inZoi. Today with a bit of a special build. It's more or less just a test, a proof of concept if you will, because I find this relatively important to do it every now and then to just see where this game stands and where it needs some improvement, and yeah, it does need quite some improvement. But before we get into that, obviously this is just a little test build, so don't let yourself be fooled by what the final result is looking like. I mean, you potentially have seen it from the thumbnail anyways, but I'm going to talk you through what was special about the build. But before we do so, here's a little hint to the sponsor of the channel, who is Instant Gaming. They are a platform where you can get game keys and in-game currency, if you will, for a very great value. They always have super nice deals and a super great customer support. Well, you can check out the link in the description. That's all I gotta say. And if you want to have any kind of DLCs or games or pre-orders anyways, you can check it out here as well. Well, that said, let's get back into the game, because I have to tell you a couple of things that I was trying to do with this build today, and most of it goes alongside with the platforms and the way how they interact with the builds. I think one of the biggest weaknesses of the building system as of now is the way how different heights interact with each other. So different height walls can't be connected in a way. We don't have, actually there is no way to have angled walls, in fact, that's to begin with, and we also don't have the ability to connect different height platforms after we've put them down. I found a couple of ways to kind of go around that and find a little workaround, but that was like super finicky and super hard to do. But like, first things first, what I wanted to do is I wanted to build a stadium. I'm a huge football fan. I'm a supporter of the club Borussia Dortmund. Not the bestest of times at the moment, but you know, we'll get there. And as you can see, getting a basic shape in wasn't really that hard. You can trick the system apparently with roofs. Roofs are super powerful. Now that I finally understood them, thanks to some people in the inZoi Discord, I feel like they are really cool. In order to make cool things with them, you can really, basically you can repurpose them for everything. But yeah, so what you can also do with these platforms, and they act as some kind of nice tool to interact with the existing rooms. Now, it was a bit of a hard one because I didn't find the right spot in the first place to put it. So what I wanted to do, obviously, I wanted to create some stands where you have like different steps and height elevations to put down the benches and, you know, seating options. That was the first thing. And as I said, there is at the moment there is this weird issue that when you put down a platform, in the first moment you have the chance to scale it, as you can see over here, but as soon as you hit OK for the first time, you then will only be able to adjust the height. So you'll see that when I click again, the other options are gone, and I have to redo everything until it is back to where I put it the first place. It's a bit of a finicky thing to achieve, and I really wish they would make this a lot more easy to access and just don't make these things so weird. Like when you put them down, I want to have full access to making them work. And also what you can see, which is a bit of a weird one, as soon as you place them down, they then merge into each other. So you can't merge walls into each other, but you can have platforms, and as soon as you put them down, they do merge into each other, which then creates a bit of a confusing element because it has so many different edges to scale them, almost like in Blender, and you don't have the tools like in Blender. It's kind of a bit of an odd one, but for testing reasons, I wanted to test if I can put these different benches on the platforms to begin with, because if that wouldn't have worked, I could have scrapped the whole build, honestly. So I just tested that, and I was really happy that it just works the way it did. And yeah, you know, obviously going with the colors of my club, that's a given. You know, we have to have the black and yellow, definitely important. And then you can see I was testing then how to save it maybe, and you can save it as a room, and the fun fact about the room is then you can place down the room. But as soon as I tried to kind of get some walls in, the benches then vanished, and didn't get the information to why they vanished, like when I put them down in the first place and then put the benches back in, then they reappeared and just vanished again. It's all a little bit, I don't know, uncertain is maybe not the right word. I think there's a couple of things that just need to be a bit more coherent in how it works. Like, it is super powerful and you can do a lot of things, but I also wish to have the ability to select multi-select pieces. Here you can see I then found out that if you take the select room option, and then you select the platforms, you are able to re-edit the platforms that you've already put down. But as you can see, you then get a whole bunch of toggles and little nubsies where you can then drag the whole thing and move it. So this is way easier, as you can tell. And then you can also copy it and just put it back behind, and you copy even a wall with it, which is super helpful. Once I understood this, I was like, okay, hey, that's good. Let's go with this. But then as you can see, all of a sudden, all the options were gone again, and I could only just adjust the height. Until I then figured you always need to use that option of select the full room and not only the room. It's, again, the logic behind, for me, is not fully clear at this point, so maybe at some point it will be, or they just change it to make it logic, I guess. But yeah. So as you can see, now we are getting there, and I had a bit of a stand test room, and you could then put it down, as you can see, easily on top of the second layer, and here we go. That looks kind of good, and we have the stands I was going for. I also tried to connect the lower part. I wish to be able then also to move the ceiling level up a bit if I can, because why not, you know? I mean, there's a platform, so from the lower side, it would be cool to be able to just move it up again. And then I tested just to have a couple of areas here, just like in a stadium stand. Again, this build is not meant to be like a full kind of fully grown stadium. I will eventually do this, but because, you know, I love to do these kind of things and to, you know, trick the system in a way. But also from a gameplay perspective, I think it's a totally fun idea to have the option to build public venues, if you will. They talked about the fact that you will be able to change public venues, like libraries and furniture store and so on, will be an option in the future. But I would love to see that we have more properties, more empty properties, and you then can decide whether you want to build like not only your own property, obviously, to live in, but you can also, even you want to make, let's say you want to have like a business and you want to create, I don't know, a bakery, then you will be able to purchase a location and build a bakery, and then people will get there and eventually buy all of your stuff, you know, the lovely breads and croissants and whatever you want to sell there in your bakery, or some wonderful cakes and, you know, muffins and whatever. But yeah, another thing that I found a little bit odd is that at some point I didn't figure why certain ceilings weren't created. Like I just kind of created a full room, but it didn't create a ceiling. So I was trying to have some more walls in to create a ceiling and close the roof off, but it just didn't work. And then I figured, okay, I need some stairs. Realistically, you need some stairs to get up there, and this is the way how I wanted to do it, which kind of works. You know, I just need to put like a gate, like a door in, and then people could easily climb up the side there and get eventually at least to the lower level of the benches. But like obviously this is not usable. Okay, I would love to be able to make that usable and then have like a stadium over here for like an elementary school or like a school, and there you can see the difference. I created on the left hand side, I was able to create that ceiling, and on the right hand side you know, the game just didn't let me close that up. I'm sure there is a mistake I made, a very logical one maybe even, but like for me it wasn't intuitive to understand exactly what happened there. And maybe this is my overall feedback about the building tool. I'm doing all of this because in the background I'm working on a fully grown building tutorial for this game. I found a lot of little sneaky tricks and stuff to achieve certain things that you usually can't achieve. But equally, there is still so much I'm very confused about that I haven't released this yet. So it's going to be there. I think I'm going to fully record it on the weekend because I double checked the roadmap, and it says that in the roadmap at the next update we will get some significant building updates already, which is May. So maybe it makes sense to kind of, you know, here's the roadmap again to just see that, but maybe it just makes sense to wait for that until going even deeper in it and just make a tutorial for now with the stuff that is available. So yeah, very nice. Anyways, it is super cool to see that I can create this little stadium appeal over here, as you can see now as I've finished these stands. I first of all thought that these platforms relatively were too high, like the steps were too high, but it appears that the steps were just fine, as you can tell. Like this is almost like a realistic way of doing these stands. And again, it's not like a fully grown stadium. That's way too small for that, and the property isn't that big. However, again, that said, it would be really cool to have 1 or 2 giant properties on a map. I really would love to see that. Like, this is the biggest one we have at the moment on this map, Bliss Bay, which is, I think, 35 by 38 square meters, which still isn't gigantic. It's not even gigantic enough to build a fully grown, I don't know, VIP villa, because you would need to have that huge way leading up to the house. And we don't have terraforming, which is another thing that is definitely badly needed. We can't change the elevation of the terrain, which I have not seen anything about this. They have not talked about that. I definitely hope if they do it, that's going to be voxel based and not like grid based as it is in, for example, The Sims. I think we're in 25, and you know, being on Unreal Engine, I would really love to see this game utilizing also the latest update with the liquids. That would be, I mean, that would be absolutely amazing if they would get the real liquids in, you know, at least have an option to enable them, and then we can do some little fish ponds, and maybe even the pools would make use of it. That would be really cool. But yeah, as you can tell over here, I'm just doing a little bit of detailing to give the build the context required to see that this is like a sports area. Just move the overall area a tiny bit, just because I felt like I want to create a bit of space at the front to eventually put another stands over there. Funnily enough, this game has like a soccer goal, and with this goal, apparently you can definitely tell why I couldn't build like a fully grown stadium over here. I mean, simply because you know, it just didn't make that much sense to even try it, because we don't even have half the size for going from the, you know, shorter side, because like a typical football pitch is like 50 by 100 meters plus minus, you know, and so we don't even have half of it, which then again makes sense to have it that way. So you can tell the whole build is taking shape, and I like the way it looks. I mean, sure, I could have just changed a couple of colors and stuff, but I think you get the idea. There's not really that much more I should achieve. I basically then try to copy over some of the stands, and now this is ridiculous over here, as you can see. I copied that over, and all of a sudden the upper level benches were gone, and then I copied in the second one, obviously the wrong way around, and I did this a couple of times now because the outline just didn't give it's looking at that, it just hurts, okay, because it just kind of did it the wrong way. But yeah, so you can see I was just testing how easy it would be to copy over. And again, I would love to have the option to multi-select levels and rooms, so I don't want to just take the modules. I would love to select the full stand and just copy it over to have it a second one. See, and I couldn't even save like the 2 rooms as one or so. I just needed to have both. And yeah, the last things I did before I then was like, okay, that test is done, and here we go. And I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to fill in the side of the stadium over here. And again, eventually I will play with it a bit more and upload that to Canvas. But again, it was just like a little test. You can't really do much with it. So that's been it. I really hope you find this interesting. Also, you know, talking a bit about my knowledge that I gained from the build. And also a bit of inspiration that you don't need to stick to just building houses and properties. You can also get creative and try out what the game offers as well. Maybe that was helpful to give you an idea what you can test out in inZoi. Again, there will be a lot more tests coming in the next couple of days. I've been busy testing out a few things, so a couple of smaller builds here and there. I will be uploading all these to the Canvas, so make sure to follow me in inZoi as well on Canvas. Same name, Rudi Rennkamel. Very surprising, I guess. But yeah, thank you for watching. And as said earlier, if you need a game, a DLC, or even some reduced or like a discounted in-game currency or in-platform currency, how do you say that? Is that like PlayStation Network currency? Whatever, doesn't matter. You can get it from the linky to Instant Gaming in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, if you like the content, make sure to leave me a subscription on the channel, and I talk to you as always in the next one. Happy days and bye.